Hello, everyone. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson College Office of Public Relations, and this is The View from the Hill, the podcast of Lindsey Wilson College. Every week during the academic year, The View from the Hill features conversations with some of the people who help create the dynamic, living, learning environment that serves the educational needs of every Lindsey Wilson student every day. In this fourth edition of the 2025 View from the Hill podcast, we'll hear from Lindsey Wilson alumna, professor, and director of the college's outstanding education program, Jennifer Antoniotti-Neal. Jennifer will tell us all about what makes Lindsey Wilson's education program one of the best. And we'll also hear about her unique story, how she journeyed from Ohio to right here in South Central Kentucky. Few people know Lindsey Wilson from more perspectives than Jennifer Antoniotti-Neal, an education professor for 8 years and director of the college's education program. Jennifer is also a graduate of the college. As you will hear, Lindsey Wilson education students are in high demand by schools, and there's a good reason for that. It's because Lindsey Wilson education majors are incredibly well prepared by outstanding faculty members. As director of the education program, Jennifer oversees 5 programs within the larger education program.
The first program is our P5 elementary education program. We have a middle grades education program with emphasis in math, English, science, and social studies. And we have secondary education with math, biology, history, and English. And then we have P5, and then we have PE and health, which is 8 through 12, and then we have art, which is also 8 through 12.
Talk a little bit about what makes Lindsey Wilson's education program so strong. It's part of the college's heritage. Lindsey Wilson's been synonymous with teacher preparation for more than 100 years, really. What is it about Lindsey Wilson's education program that makes it such a strong program?
We have a long history of producing outstanding educators, of having partners call us and asking for teachers that are straight out of our program. Do you have teachers for math? Do you have teachers for P5? And they will call us before they even graduate. I've had people, it's January, February. Do you have teachers that are going to graduate in May in math? Do you have teachers that are going to graduate in English? And it's not even time for them to graduate yet. That speaks volumes about our programs. And one of the other things that really speaks to me about the history of this program is that we are family. We do live our motto. If you come into this building, if you see our students out, you will know that they know each other, that they know us, that we know them by name, we know their needs, we know their strengths and their weaknesses, and we know how to help them every day. We take them from where they are and we teach them everything that they need to know in order to be proficient in teaching, but also to have that passion for teaching. We are passionate about what we do. We are classroom teachers who've been in the classroom for years, and we've taken our passion for teaching and we pour it into those students. So when they leave here, they don't only have the pedagogy and the content knowledge they need, but they also have the passion for teaching and learning that you can't find. You have to have all of those things in order to have a high quality educator. And that's what we produce here at Lindsey.
Let's talk a little bit about the curriculum for education majors at Lindsey Wilson College. What sort of classes can they expect to take during their 4 years at the college?
There are content classes which they will get specific content for what they're interested in. So if they're a math person, they will take math content classes, English classes for English. P5 is specific for that P5 student. And art, we have art and PE and health, which is all aligned in your curriculum contracts. But also for every student, you will have exceptional learner course. You will have a measurement and assessment course. You will have a ed tech course where you'll learn all about technology. You'll have a fundamentals course where you'll learn how to write lesson plans, and curriculum courses where you'll learn that pedagogy, and some psychology courses, because it's not all about just teaching students. You have to know how to work with people.
And of course, you've alluded to this, but students who major in education at Lindsey Wilson work very closely with the faculty.
They do. We are their advisors. We are their teachers. We go out and supervise them in the field. We know our partners extremely well. Our mentors in the field are Lindsey Wilson graduates. It's just a big family. So we have students that come in our classroom every day and then stay after and ask us questions. We have students that come in and have issues in their personal lives. That translates into issues in the classroom. We don't separate the two. You can't separate the two. And even though you become an adult and come to college, you still have adult problems that you need someone to talk about. And that's what makes Lindsey special is we just help each other get through and make sure we are the best that we can be every day.
The education program has been housed in the Goodhue building now for almost 20 years. And in a lot of ways, it seems sort of like a student center for the education majors because, like as you mentioned earlier, there's more than just classes going on over here. There are other programs housed in the building as well, other classes being taught. But this just sort of has the vibe, I guess, as the kids would say, of a student center for education students.
This is our home. This is the education's home. Goodhue is known for the education program. 200 is our classroom. We have our nook in that classroom. We have our little closet that has, education people. They have their stuff. We are hoarders. We have our toilet paper rolls and we have our construction paper and our glue, and we have to have a place to keep all of that stuff. But we also want to have a place where students can gather and they have a place where they can create and they have a place where they can collaborate. And so we have a curriculum lab downstairs. We have a computer lab that's just for education students. And it's a place where you will see education students come together. They will laugh. They will sometimes cry. They will sometimes celebrate, and they will just have a really good time working together. I came in the other day and they were studying for one of my tests because we bought whiteboards last semester, and students are in there studying for one of my tests together in a group. And it was just such an amazing moment where you see a vision that you have come to life in an actual moment, and students are actually doing what you were hoping that they would do. And just that moment of collaborative family effort from those students was just wonderful to see.
What type of student, or is there a type of student who tends to make a good education major?
I see students from all over. I know that there are students that know they want to be education majors, and those students have known that since they were little. They play teacher when they're little. They have dolls, or they have teacher desks, and they take things from school and they have worksheets. But then there are those students who have absolutely no idea what they want to do, and they come and they take an education class or two, and then they realize that they had no idea that they wanted to work with children or middle schoolers or high schoolers that are young adults. And they realize, oh, I wanted to be a coach. Coaches are teachers. We have such a huge athletic population here at Lindsey Wilson. And some of the best teachers are coaches, because coaches change lives every single day. And if you think that a coach is not a teacher, well, let me tell you, they are some of the best teachers I've ever met. So I can't say that there's a particular type of person that makes a good teacher, but I have seen some of the best teachers come from all over the place.
You've mentioned it's a rigorous academic program, but there's lots of support for students.
Yes, there is so much support here. I always tell everyone, nobody comes to school and wants to fail. I've never seen one person ever walk in a door at a job, at a school, anywhere, and want to fail. So if you come in and you want to do well, we are here to support you every single step of the way. All you have to do is let us know that you're struggling, or even just, I'll pay attention. My faculty will pay attention, and we'll ask, and we will do anything and everything in our power to make sure that you get to that finish line the best way that you can.
I imagine it also helps that so many of the professors on the faculty are former teachers themselves. Not they aren't teachers in college, but have experience in the classroom teaching elementary, middle, and high school students.
Yes, once you've been in that classroom, it's very easy to see how difficult life is in so many ways that you can't separate life from the classroom. And so when you come in and say, I had a student yesterday get in a car accident, and so she didn't come to class, and that's okay. because sometimes we have to put students first and we have to say your mental health or your physical health is much more important than classwork sometimes. And we will make that up and we will take the time. That comes from being in the classroom with students. That comes from the passion we have from having empathy for other people.
You're listening to the Lindsey Wilson View from the Hill podcast. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson Office of Public Relations. I'm talking to Lindsey Wilson Education Professor and Program Director Jennifer Antoniotti-Neal. Jennifer is also a Lindsey Wilson graduate, but as the Ohio native explains, attending Lindsey Wilson was furthest from her mind when she moved from the Buckeye State to the Bluegrass State.
So I have a very unique story of how I ended up at Lindsey Wilson College. In 1992, I moved to Kentucky, $200 car with 2 gerbils and $20 in my pocket. And I knew I wanted to go back to college. I had gone to Kent State as an artist and quit school, moved to Kentucky, and had to wait about a year to get in-state tuition because I was a poor college student. So I waited and got a job at a family resource center in Cumberland County. And at that time, you had to take a test in order to work at a school. And I was waiting at home one day to start work, and Tracy Pooler called me out of the blue. I'd never heard of Tracy Pooler. I had not heard of Lindsey Wilson College. And she said, I saw you on this list to come to campus to take a test. Would you like to tour campus? And it was funny because I did. And I really wanted to go back to school, but I just didn't know how. And so I said yes. And she set up the time after the test and gave me a tour of campus and gave me a good tuition package. And at the end of that day, I was a student at Lindsey Wilson College who was going to be in the education program. And it was funny because the job that I had just got to take the test for was opening a daycare at the elementary school in Cumberland County. And I didn't even know that I liked kids, let alone wanted to be a teacher because I was an art major. So worked for the Family Resource Center full time, started Lindsey Wilson night school in the early 90s, went to school from 5:30 at night to 10:30 at 5 o'clock at night to 10:30 at night on Tuesday, Thursday. Did that for a few years. And then my boss was very nice and let me take off some time during the day to come to class. And I ate in my car and I'd drive back to school and I'd work the rest of my hours doing the daycare and build up a really nice daycare center in Cumberland County. And then worked my way through college. And at the end of my journey here at Lindsey, it was really funny because I was not a normal commuter either. I didn't really spend any time actually on campus. And it's funny being here now because I didn't realize all the things that I missed. But there was one job in Cumberland County, and there were 25 teachers at that time, which is kind of the opposite of what it's like today. But they looked at all of my materials and they had a conversation with me, and we got so excited about all of the things I brought to the table. My cards from Miss Bradshaw and my learning centers from Miss Arnold and all of the really cool stuff that I had that we still implement today, that passion for teaching and learning. And I got the job. And I just remember I just couldn't believe it. And I got in there, and 23 years later, here I am in a co-teacher training for having mentor teachers in the classroom. And Miss Judy Bradshaw and Missy Arnold were teaching the class at Lindsey. And they said, Miss Antonietti-Neal, what are you doing here? And I said, I came to take this training. And they asked me what I was doing. I said, I got my doctorate. I was getting my doctorate. And they said, we want you to come work with us. And I said, I would think about it. And I put in my application, and I got a little nervous because I wasn't finished. And I pulled my application. Then they called me back and got me to come work as an adjunct. So I worked teaching literacy for a couple years, and they really called me back and said, okay, somebody's quitting. We want you to come work for us. So I put in my application again, finished my degree, got my doctorate, and was hired in the spring of 2017. Started in the fall of 2017, right during CAPE accreditation. But I absolutely loved it, every single minute of it. And 2 years later, I became the director of education, and I've loved every single minute of being here.
What is it about Lindsey Wilson that you enjoy so much? Is it something you can verbalize, or is it's one of those things you just have to experience in order to understand and appreciate?
Well, I talked about when I was here as a student, I really didn't understand what it was like to be on campus, and I didn't really take the time to enjoy everything about campus. So when I came back in 2017, it was like coming home. And that feeling of coming home, and I tell new hires that all the time, it's just like coming home. And everybody I see, even new people I meet today, it's been 8 years since I've come back, and everybody is just the most wonderful human being. And new hires are just so happy to be here. And new students are so happy to be here. And I'm so excited every time we get to have new people and new interactions and build new relationships and have new family members, because it is just a huge family. And people think that that's, they just say that, but it's so incredibly true here. And I don't believe that we would be where we are today in the education department if we didn't build over the last 8 years such a strong, connected family. We have come so far. We just finished our last accreditation last semester, and we blew it out of the water. And it's because we work so well together, and we are so strong as a family and so strong collaboratively. And we play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses because we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and we know our students, and everybody gives their best, even when they're struggling. Everybody's here to support everybody else, and that's what I love about it.
That's Jennifer Antoniotti-Neal. She directs Lindsey Wilson's outstanding education program. It's one of the many places that's a living example of the Lindsey Wilson mission, with a laser-like focus on serving every student every day. To read more about Lindsey Wilson's education major, point your browser to the Lindsey Wilson homepage, and that's lindsey.edu, and then search for education. And that's going to do it for this 4th edition of 2025's View from the Hill. You can tell us what you like or don't like about this podcast by firing off an email to us at news@lindsey.edu. Be sure to put podcast in the subject line. And also be sure to encourage your friends and family members to subscribe to A View from the Hill. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we wouldn't mind it if you gave us a nice rating on either platform. Until our next edition, I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson Office of Public Relations. Thanks so much for listening. So long, everybody, and have a nice day.